Welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. As always, I'm Bob Lung here with the Fantasy Football Expo in beautiful, sunny, palm tree-laden Canton, Ohio. Always excited to be. The weather's starting to warm up, so not today. This weekend, it's supposed to get in the 80s or lows, upper 70s, low 80s, which I'm okay with. Today it's 44 and crappy, but that's Ohio. So anyway, but right beside me is Mike Neugebauer from Play Surf Football. Mike, welcome to the show. Mike is one of our new sponsors or exhibitors this year coming to the Expo. So he's one of the rookies, and we're always excited about new folks coming in and enjoying the weekend and learning more about it. So want to get Mike on just to learn more about him and his brand. So Mike, first off, tell us, where you're from, what you do for a living if you have a day job like me. And then, we'll kind of get started into the fantasy football history.
Yeah, I'm from I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. No palm trees here either, but that's okay. The weather's a little warmer here than what you're saying, though. So it's like 60s here. So maybe it'll come your way.
It's heading this way. Yeah. So cool. Great. And what do you do for a living? Or is this all you do?
I'm a software engineer. I've been at it for about 30 years. Yep. So yeah, I have a day job, certainly. Yep.
Yeah. Most of us do. So
yeah.
I'm an accountant by day, software engineer. Yeah, we get it. We all almost, let's say 90% of us don't do this full time for a living. But that's okay. That's what makes it fun. And we can all help each other. So Michael, let's take a step back a few years, see how many years it is for you. It's been a long time for me. When did you start playing fantasy football or fantasy sports? Some people started with fantasy baseball, but what got you started into fantasy football? A certain person, somebody at work, college, how did you get started just playing fantasy football? When did it all come to fruition for you?
I'll try not to take too long, but I went to college in the early 90s, became a football fan, NFL fan then. Before I didn't care about it so much. And then towards the end of my college, I started looking online, and I heard about fantasy football. I don't remember where I heard about it from. I think it was on AOL possibly, because that's where I ended up playing, was on AOL. I think I started, if memory serves me correct, I think I started in 94, had an unremarkable season. But then in 1995, I won this beauty. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it because it's glass and all that. But this is the grandstand from so it's probably hard to see, but it's a little glass trophy. So I won my championship in 95.
Perfect.
I had Emmitt Smith on 95, when he had his groundbreaking season. And then I made the best trade of my life. I had Shannon Sharp, and I traded him for Terrell Davis as a nice RB2 behind Emmitt. Nice. And I had to apologize to people, as I was almost every week, because I was just smacking people up, and never had a season like that ever since.
Right? It happens, and especially when it happens early, right? It's like going to Vegas and you win like in the first hour, and you're just like, awesome, I'm gonna win all the time. And then then all of a sudden you walk away, you're like, I don't have any money left. I get it. No, great story. Great. So you've been playing a few years like myself. I started in 85. So back there with you. But so talk about then, moving through the years. Obviously, your software engineer background certainly helps for anybody who wants to kind of build something out there in the fantasy football world. What led you? Let's talk about surf football, what it is, what it's about, how you created it, how it came to fruition for you.
Okay. Do you want the long story or the short story?
We got time. Let's
okay. I'll try the long story. So I've been playing fantasy football, I'd probably say about most every year. Maybe there's a few years I took off here and there, but I've been playing at least in one league almost every year. So I kind of went on with my life, moved around a few times as a software engineer. And then I moved back here to my hometown, Sioux Falls. And as chance would have it, and this was in 2009, I was working for a commercial web company here in town. And we had a client that came in, and he wanted us to build him a a DFS service, DFS website. And this was back when the legal challenges were massive. And, at this time, DraftKings and FanDuel were just kind of like you barely heard of them.
Right.
So we were kind of in on that wave. So, yeah, it was me and a team, the two other guys. I put in extra hours, and we worked on that project for about 3 to 5 months. And it went pretty well. It was called Sports Geek.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Good.
Yeah. Something in the back of my head, because I kind of remember there was a number of other things than DraftKings and FanDuel all were coming out around the same time. And I don't know why, but yeah, Sports Geek kind of like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I did all the back end on that Sports Geek website. I had a few other guys work on more of the front end aspects. Long story short, what happened with that was the client we worked with, he found out about the legal battles and the costs that were involved with the political and legal challenges. And it's like, he said, whatever he's looking to spend, it was like add a few zeros on the end. And he was like, I'm out. I can't do this. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up folding. There was nothing really to pivot to because what's funny is Bob is so I worked on the DFS website, but I've never actually played DFS before. So go figure that one out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of came and went. That year, I'm a Saints fan, by the way. This won't take long. I was a Saints fan, and that year the Saints won the Super Bowl. My boss was a Lions fan, and they went winless. So there was a lot of agitation between us.
Not bad.
So that was pretty crazy. So since then, I've done a few other jobs. Been more strictly a back-end developer. But about last year, about June or July, I was I'm kind of becoming an empty nester and having more hours on my hands. And I was thinking, what do I want to do? I want to earn some extra income or look at what I'm going to do. So then I was thinking about doing some freelance writing, but then I realized I'd have to hunt down all the work. And it's just, I was kind of into it, but kind of not. I was like, this isn't for me. And then I kind of started to get game development in my head because even as like a child, I would, I'm an Apple II kid. I basically coded games on my Apple II and stuff and played on my Atari, and the games that I didn't code, I'd just write down on paper and stuff. So it's been in my blood like long before I even got into football.
Sure.
So, I got this game creating itch. And then the main thing, that impetus that drove me is Tom Grassi, if you know who he is. He had that 30 for 30 last year. He's basically a web content creator.
Okay.
He went on to become the NFL Fan of the Year for his work, but went to 30 cities in 30 days. And I was like, just seeing him step out on a limb and try something that had never been done before. I'm like, if he can do that, then I can tackle what I want to tackle. And maybe subconsciously in my head, I always had an idea when I worked on Sports Geek, is like, maybe some of these ideas were around back then about what I wanted to do with fantasy football if I wanted to create something for the ground up.
Right.
So then in July, I got started and I found the stats that I needed and I got about to it. So that's kind of how it started, was just kind of.
Well, talk about what surf football is, for people who might be, interested in getting involved.
Yeah. So surf football, it is a league. Basically, we want to host fantasy leagues. And they're going to be, I built everything from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And for this first year, I want to have it just where you go in and you play in a public league. So there's no trades, no commissioners, and things like that, and no customization. But the main impetus behind it is, and what I want to do quite a bit differently than I think has been done before, is I really want to bring the gaming element into fantasy football. Like, I want it to be, this is going to sound kind of stupid, but I want it to be kind of like Mario Kart a little bit, where, you have different things going on where your players get boosts, or they get, penalized or something, or there's gaming elements going on that control how much how many points your receiver gets for yards and stuff like that.
Right.
So
Yeah. Right. So the site is live now, correct?
no, yeah, it's a
Okay.
big call out. So the site goes live. Save the date. It's May 31st is when
Oh,
it
okay.
goes live.
That's coming up. And the site will be surffootball.com?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
was kind of surprised that was available, but knock yourself out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Cool. So I'm going to go here. So while we're talking, I'm going to go football.com. So when you go there, what am I going to see?
It's good. Well, the site's not live yet. It's going to spin and spin.
Oh, okay. I thought there'd be like a sign up for emails. Okay, never mind then.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't go to the site yet, guys. May 31st.
Yep, May 31st. I decided not to do the whole sign up for the email thing. I figured I would just kind of carry out things on social media until launch. So, yeah.
And obviously they can follow your Twitter at PlaySurfFootball. So, folks, make sure you follow Mike and be prepared for that.
Yep.
And when that comes out. So, okay. So, yeah. So basically, like you said, it's kind of a fun league management, but maybe with some twist in it that you can add and customize. So, sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a really cool concept for sure.
Yeah.
So you're coming to Fantasy Football Expo this year. Talk about how you found out about the Expo. Did you see it on Twitter? Did somebody tell you about it? Do you know people that have already went? What do you know about the Fantasy Football Expo at this point before you go in August?
Yeah, I was setting up my account on Twitter, and I think it was like that same day I set up my Twitter account, because I normally had not done social media much at all before.
Mm-hmm.
So I set up my Twitter account, and I started reading about the Fantasy Football Expo, and I was like, probably I'd say within a day or two after seeing it, I was like, yeah, I got to go to this. This is definitely, my friends are questioning you. Doesn't know, are you ready for it this year? I'm like, no, screw it, I got to go. This is it.
Yeah, like you said, even if like you said, it's a first year, it's kind of new, but what's awesome is you'll be able to show people what it is, what you're doing, and people will help you. They will say, oh, well, have you thought about this? Or you thought about that? Or thought about putting this weekend? And that's what's awesome is everybody is, what's cool is this community is so helpful. And even though we're all kind of, quote, competing for the same thing, we're really not. We all have got our niches, our twists. You're gonna have, you have a league management system that is, people can put leagues in, but also can, customize and do cool stuff with. I do the consistency stuff. So we all kind of have things that, we have a knack for, and we all help each other, and we're all fans of each other. A lot of people have said, oh, well, the Expo is only for content creators. Well, we're all fans.
Yeah.
We're all fans of each other. So it's a lot more fans than you think. But there's content creators and there's people there. But that's not what this is about. It's about getting together, sharing each other's ideas and plans and bouncing things off others. And, once you go, you'll start having all kinds of, more followers and people that, you'll start discussing with and go, hey, I met you at the Expo, and I know you had this idea for me for, surf football, and, what do you think? And, they can help you out. So I think you're really going to love that. So what are you going to be bringing to your booth? What, any cool ideas, cool giveaways, cool thoughts of, have you thought that far ahead?
No, I haven't. I have some rough ideas about what I might do at the booth, but it's all up in the air right now. Yeah. And I'll say too that I consider that all of us are content creators, pretty much. Whether, no matter what kind of thing you're working on, we're all content creators, all trying to entertain at the end of the day. So. Yeah,
no, definitely. And, like you said, even those who are just fans of everything, whether they just come and enjoy and, get to meet you, and you may find a bunch of new people that are really interested in, joining your league management system and go, hey, it's much easier to use than, these other sites. And this is great. So.
Yeah. And actually I wouldn't think of it as a league management system. Probably the best comparison I can give you is my vision is I want this to be like a different kind of service. somewhat like a pinball arcade, in that if basically just imagine you're walking into a pinball arcade, right? And you see all these different games, and you have each game has like different lights and sounds and things going on and this and whatever. But at the end of the day, every game is pinball. That's what I want this to be with surf football. Is I have 12 different game modes, and they're all kind of have their little different brands and styles and things going on, different scoring rules. They're all fantasy football, and it's all the leagues, by the way, are going to be 12-man or 12-owner leagues, and it's going to be like a standard roster: 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, kicker, defense.
But it's just going to have all kinds of twists to them.
Yeah, and I tried to standardize it and keep that part of it basic. And doing that during the development process allowed me to do some of the neat ideas I wanted to incorporate. So, if it's okay, I might go into a few of the games with you.
Yeah, okay.
Not all 12 of them, because that would take too long and will probably bore people.
Right, yeah.
And that's what
I'd love to hear about these too.
So, the first one, I think I mentioned it to you in a message, is a bingo game. It's called Barstool Bingo.
Okay.
And I think the concept is pretty simple. So imagine, now it's one standard bingo card for everybody, unlike real world bingo where everybody gets a different card. That part is different. So everybody gets a standard card, but it's a 25 square bingo card with a free space in the center. And then all the other spaces are milestones that your fantasy team has to achieve. So in other words, you have a space for your quarterback passing for 300 yards or more. Nice. Another space for your defense scoring a touchdown. Another one for your kicker kicking a 50-yard field goal, and on and on. And then you go head-to-head against an opponent and see who can fill up their card the most. And then when you do get a bingo, it's an extra point, like if you get a line,
Okay. Got it. So it's tracking it during the games. So you might get a bingo in the 1 o'clock games, but you may not fill your whole card until the end of the game, or maybe you won't fill it at all.
Yeah, and I would say it's pretty hard to fill the card. So there's probably many weeks you don't even have a bingo where the scores are like 11 to 10 or something like that. So
I gotcha. So you get a point for every spot you get?
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Cool.
And then
okay.
So that's kind of my first idea. And by the way, all this is available on the website. For the first year, at least, the mobile apps, I want to launch like a pilot version of the mobile app where you can go in and see the scores a little bit, but it's going to be kind of formative because as a startup, I don't want to try and program 3 different code sets all at once. And this first year, everything's going to change a lot. I know that. So
Sure. Gotcha.
But yeah, the other games I wanted to kind of go into a little bit. The second game, I should stop and ask you, do you like to play in Pick'em leagues, Bob?
By Pick'em leagues, you mean more of the pick the winners kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, because now they call Pick'em pick up or pick higher or lower. And they call them Pick'em games. So that's why I had to ask. Well, we know as old guys, we know a Pick'em game is picking the winners, and putting. Sometimes you put the strength and like a 1 to 14 or whatever, but Pick'em games I certainly played those, sure.
Yeah. So the second concept, the game mode I have, is where it combines in your fantasy league with the same set of owners. You can play Pick'em and fantasy football in the same league. Nice. And you manage it all together. So in other words, each week you go to your team home screen and you enter your pick'em selections, who's going to win all the games
within your league, the winners of the 6 games of the play.
Yep. So you go through all your pick'ems, you say, flip, which team's going to win for each of the games going on that week. And then you do your fantasy roster as normal. And then how it works is the percentage of the games that you picked correct get added to your fantasy score. So if you picked 6 out of 12 games right, that's 50%. Hence, 50 points gets added to your fantasy score.
Okay.
So there's major incentive if you can, pick 80 or 90% of the games right. You've got a pretty good
bonus points. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So that's the second idea, is just blending those 2 elements together. The main value being is I figured that there's probably a fair number of people that play in pick'em leagues and then play fantasy maybe sometimes with the same group of friends, but they can't play both at the same time.
Same time.
So,
yeah. Right. Cool.
Yeah.
So you still have a 1-loss record, or no? You're just getting the points added, and then you get a win or loss based on the
exactly.
Points scored plus your bonus points for the pick'ems.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Cool. I like that.
Yeah. The third game I was going to mention to you. So I've never read the consistency guide. I'm curious about it.
Okay.
But
it'll be out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure you're busy right now getting that already. No doubt.
Yeah.
So I imagine the consistency guide, but not having read it, I'm kind of guessing. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that part of it has to do with what you're trying to do is have some of the lesser players on your starting roster not score horribly, not get 0s and 1s, and do better than that.
Right. I mean, you want those that are going to score. I mean, there's a threshold for each position. So, for example, quarterbacks is 19 fantasy points and a 4-point passing touchdown. So, first off, I'm looking for my starter to, as much as possible, consistently be over 19 points a week, because that's what basically the top 12 will average on a weekly basis. But obviously, if they miss, I want them to miss by, at 16 or 17 and not at 5. So I just want them, I want more consistent players, on a weekly basis. Sure.
Yeah. So this game mode might attract you. It's called Scary Sight, kind of a Halloween theme going on to it. But what happens, and this is pretty wild, so stay with me, but your starting roster, the 3 players on your starting roster that score the lowest have their points tripled.
Oh.
So in other words, like say you had a kicker that scored 2 points for 2 extra points, that would be multiplied by 3, that would be 6.
Okay.
And so on. So basically the design of the game mode is to basically really have the owners on their feet watching, making sure their guys don't get 0 points or negative points. Because
they can get negative. Oh, that's
it'll multiply the negative too. I didn't see that too much during testing, but it's conceivable if you had the Broncos defense when Miami hung 70 on them, you would be in a hard spot.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but it's to try and bring up the importance of your whole roster. So you just can't have Christian McCaffrey and carry the day, and then your other guys are getting 0s and 1s, and it's not just 1 or 2 stars dominating. It brings up the lower end.
Right, and the guys that are low scoring, if they can score higher, if there's 3 low scored, if one team has 3 guys with all 5, so they're going to get 15, 15, and 15. But if your 3 lowest are all 10, now you got a bonus of 90 points. They've got a bonus of 30 points. So I get it.
Yeah. And I think it hopefully should change strategy a little bit too, because you might be looking for that guy that that tight end that's going to catch 3 passes and get 20 yards or whatever, who wouldn't be valuable, but he's better than the guy that you're worried if he's going to get any targets at all. That type of thing. So
I got you. Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So have you seen any concepts like that before, or am I carving out new territory here?
No, I mean, the closest I would say for customization type stuff would be My Fantasy League, MFL, old school. But theirs is more about customizing skins and things like that. You could do a lot of wild stuff, which is why Scott Fishbowl does a lot of his leagues on there, because he always has the twist and turns of, first downs and, all that kind of crazy stuff. But from a perspective of adding some bonuses and wild bonuses, I'm not aware of one, and if it is, obviously wasn't very successful because I haven't heard of it. So I think you've got something. I think it makes it more fun, especially people who are just what I call casual. Hey, I'll play, but but if you get in one, you're like, hey, guess what? This happens and that happens. But I think also people that have been playing for a number of years, just looking for something different to do, right?
Yeah.
After you've played in every PPR and and IDPs, and after you've done it all, you're like, okay, what's next? What's the next fun thing to do? This sounds like the next fun thing to do. I think it's I think it's going to go over well. I think people are going to like it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it open-ended too, so the community can definitely have a voice and steering the game. And in my mind's eye, that we probably haven't created the best game mode yet by a long shot. That's going to be something somebody else has been thinking of, and then maybe a few of us put our heads together, and then we do have something that maybe goes a little more viral. But yeah, it's so strange because I do respect the My Fantasy League and the flea flickers and stuff that do the customizations, and mine is like on the opposite end of the spectrum, where there's going to be little or possibly no customization for quite a while. It's more that I kind of want to be the game designer, put the game in place so people don't have to customize. You can jump right in whether you have a commissioner or not, and play these exotic game modes.
Yeah, no, I think it's very cool. It's very cool. Do you have any questions for me about the Expo itself? You're new coming in, so I always say, if you have anything you want to ask, don't be afraid to, because somebody might have wanted to ask this question, just hasn't yet. So you have any questions for me before we get out of here?
Not about the Expo itself. I'm just wondering, kind of as a new entrepreneur, and you've kind of got two businesses kind of going with the Expo and the consistency guide. Do you have any tips for success or things to watch out for as I go along here?
I would say, and I think you've already done a very good job of this, don't be in a hurry. Don't expect to be super successful quickly. While it's a great community and a lot of people will help you, there's also a lot of people in this community and a lot of things to do in this community. And, I was writing my consistency stuff for 15 years, 15, about 15 years before I really got to a point where I could put a book out and it be successful, and and earned a lot of street cred just from being in the industry and playing and knowing people and meeting people and networking, and where I got to a point where I felt comfortable that people would, if I put an expo on, people would come to it. So I think that's the biggest thing for anybody, is that don't go balls to the wall, throwing a lot of money at something without thinking it through, without taking your time, starting slowly, introducing things, listening to the public, and tweaking it to a point where people like it. And I think, you seem to understand that you're kind of going in at that pace. And I think that's important to not go too crazy too fast, because, like that sports geek, they threw a lot of money at something that, by the time they really got to it, it didn't work out, and they probably lost a lot of money. That's, and do it at your own pace with your own funds. That certainly helps too. Now, the fact that you're a software engineer certainly saves all the money for the software engineering side. So that's beneficial. Just like nobody has to do my accounting for me. So that's cool.
I have no money to throw at anybody if I wanted to. So
exactly.
No problem there.
So, but no, I think you're the right place or the right time, going at the right speed. So that's I think the most important. So if that's all you've got, I just want to say thank you again for being on. We're really looking forward to you coming and showing off your product come August. And May 31st, folks, keep an eye out on the Twitter. Make sure you follow Mike at Play Surf Football. Anything else you want to say before we go? And I'll hit the thing. We'll take out the outro.
Okay. I will kind of relist my socials here. So again, it's on Twitter, it's Play Surf Football. I'm also on Instagram at the same Play Surf Football, and I'll be dropping a fair amount of visual content on there, especially after the launch. Cool. And then Facebook, I'm kind of putting a blog of sorts, not anything long, but just kind of like a day-to-day, I'm doing this, I'm doing that type thing. And then on Reddit, I do have a subreddit as well. It's the R Surf Football. So a few things up there, but that probably won't really take off until after I launch. The same I also have a Discord set up, but haven't really done anything with it yet. That's coming along later, as well as a Patreon. So
okay, cool stuff. All right, well, for Mike, I'm Bob Lung. Don't forget, get your tickets, thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Follow all the stuff that you're going to see right on this screen as soon as I hit this button for the outro. All the things you can follow for the expo and where you can get your tickets. For Mike, I'm Bob. Take care. God bless. See you.
Appreciate